They thought I was taking my eyeballs out, and they got really upset. They thought I was some kind of a sorcerer. That's Granddad, episode 41. You ever watch someone get hung outside your hotel window?
Well. Next question.
Well, I have. It was in Damascus, Syria, a few years back. I was hitchhiking around the world, and that was the first leg. And I started in Istanbul, Turkey, working my way south. And I got as far as the seaside town of Latakia in Syria, and I stopped at a cafe to take my contact lenses out and clean them. And I didn't realize that no one in Latakia had ever seen or heard of contact lenses. They thought I was taking my eyeballs out, and they got really upset. They thought I was some kind of a sorcerer, and they got unfriendly. And so I put those contact lenses back in and left town, and some of the people were throwing rocks after me. I continued on down, and I went east to Damascus in Syria because I wanted to see the markets there. And after I'd spent a day there, I was back in the hotel. The next morning I wake up and I look across the street to a town square, and the soldiers overnight have erected a scaffolding, and they marched some poor bastard up there right outside my window and put a rope around his neck and hung him. The charge was he was an Israeli spy. The proprietor of the hotel watches all this, and we both watched as a mob gathers, and they're shouting and angry and agitated because they don't like Israel.
Oh.
But they don't like America either because of America's close relationship with Israel. So the proprietor of the hotel says I should probably stay indoors. So I take one look at that angry mob, and I get out of Dodge. Continue on down to Jordan, where one last kind of small adventure awaits me. My last ride was on top of a bunch of sacks of flour on a truck. And we stopped, the truck stops at the border with Jordan, and I hopped down to show my passport to the officials, and they're pointing guns at me, and I realized that I'm coated head to toe with flour, so I look like an utter white apparition to these border guards, until finally one of them just sees what's happening and laughs. So anyway, yeah, that adventure in the Middle East, just starting with this part of the trip, was a little bit risky, but I was certainly glad I took those risks because it was a lot of fun. And as you've heard me say for months on this channel, I think a life without taking risks is a life that's boring and ultimately inconsequential. What's important is to take smart risks and not stupid ones. So what's my advice to you? Never shy away from an adventure, but just assess the risks, make sure they're smart ones, and then take those risks because you'll be glad that you did.